Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're getting into some disturbing confession threads, and today I will be reading your guys' submitted confessions that you sent to the email, and also some Reddit confessions I found on Reddit. So it should be very interesting, and like the title says, disturbing. So yeah, I'm excited to get into this. But if you'd like to see your confession read out in a future video, please send it to the email on screen now. Thank you. And yeah, today's video will be pretty wild, so make sure you stick around, and please like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram, and follow me on Spotify. It helps more than you know, and this video will be long enough already. So without further ado, let's get into some disturbing confession threads. I caused the house fire which killed my brother 5 years ago. Throwaway account because of obvious reasons. When I was 15, I had some of my friends over while I was watching my 11-year-old brother. My parents worked a night shift and I had to babysit him often, which I did not mind because I'd usually bring my friends over, and my brother wouldn't really care. It was around 10 p.m. and it was on a Friday, and my brother was asleep, so we wanted to have some fun. So one of my friends brought over weed. We were in my room, and one of my friends knew how to block the smell of weed with this thing he made that would block the weed smell so we could smoke it in the house. After we all ended up getting high, we decided we wanted to chill in the basement. We were down there for about 15 minutes. Eventually, we wanted to go up to my room again. When we opened the basement door, the whole house was foggy and smelled like smoke, and I could see the fire spreading to our downstairs living room area since our house was 2 stories. I grabbed my phone and opened the exit of the basement door, and me and my friends ran out as quickly as possible while I called 911. My brother was upstairs sleeping, and all I could remember was just crying, coughing, and being so dizzy from the shock and the smoke. I called my parents too, and they rushed home, and they got here after the ambulance and firefighters. When my parents got home, the fire in the house was gone, and I remember the paramedics rushing my brother on a stretcher into the ambulance. My mom went in the ambulance with my brother, and my dad drove us to the hospital. We found out most of his body had 3rd-degree burns, and he was unstable and unconscious due to the smoke. I was not allowed to see my brother while I was there, and I had to keep waiting for my mom and dad to tell me everything was okay. My parents and I stayed at the hospital all night and a little into the morning, and eventually my mom and dad came out, because they were allowed to see him, to tell me that he was passing away due to the smoke inhalation. After our house was investigated for what could have started the fire, we were told that it was started in my room, and they found a metal lighter. I remember bursting into tears, telling my parents why I had a lighter in my room and what happened, and I remember saying it was all my fault. To this day, I still feel the worst amount of guilt for what happened. And my parents have told me so many times that I didn't know that this would happen. They said they weren't angry with me, but I still feel like they had some sort of anger towards me at the moment. The house was completely gone, and we were lucky we had insurance and were even able to afford a new one. I'm 20 now, and I go to college and have a part-time job, but the guilt still haunts me so much, and I think about how my brother would have gone on to do amazing things. I know deep down that it wasn't completely my fault, and that I didn't know this would happen, but it still did. My mom and dad tell me all the time that they weren't angry with me, and that I was young and didn't know that this would have happened. OP discovers that her husband's dirty secret is far dirtier than she could have ever expected. Obviously using a throwaway account because, yeah. So over the past few months, I've noticed my husband sneaking out of the house at night, sometimes for hours at a time. I'm one of those people that fall asleep as soon as their head hits the pillow, so he obviously thinks I'm asleep. But one night, I heard the baby crying and noticed he wasn't there. At first, I thought he was sneaking out to see another woman, but it turns out it was worse than that, in my opinion anyway. We had our first child in February this year, and he's been a really hands-on father. Always is there to take care of the baby despite having a full-time job when I need a break and all that. I don't know how else to really say what he's doing without it sounding completely insane, because it kind of is. But it turns out, when my husband goes out at night, All he does is go into the yard where the trash cans are, rummages around and fishes out a dirty diaper from our child, opens it, and just stands there smelling it. It seems to only be the ones that our son has gone number 2 in, because I've seen him toss back ones that presumably only have been peed in and look for a dirtier one. And then he just stands there, taking this deep, contented breaths in of our child's excrement for ages. The sad thing is, he looks so damn happy when he's doing it too. I've watched him from the window for weeks now, just standing out there, sniffing with this huge grin on his face, and then rummaging around for another. The real icing on the cake was the other night when he came back to bed, once again thinking I was asleep. He must have got a bit too close to the diaper when he was sniffing our son's business, because when he got into bed with me, I could smell something and opened my eyes a bit when I finally heard him snoring, and it turns out he had a bit of poop on his nose. I felt so disgusted. Man, this is a wild story. And even though this isn't the OP confessing, I think it's kind of safe to say this is a weird sort of adjacent confession story. So hopefully you guys think this is relatively fitting for the title of the video. So I guess this is kind of a confession in a different sense, but let's continue. So I'm at a loss as to what I should do now. I love my husband, but this freaks the hell out of me. Has this happened to anyone else before? Is it an intimate interest or something? I'm too scared to confront him, but I know it needs to be done. And any advice would be great because, I mean, shit. And I see what the OP did there. And then the OP says, Edit 1, I'm still awake right now, feeding the baby and waiting to see if he'll make a move later on. Thinking about confronting him, but not sure if I will or not yet. Will update. Edit 2, wow, I can't believe how many people have replied to this post. First of all, thank you all for the people who wrote in with such thoughtful advice. I can't reply to everyone, but I've read every comment on here, so thank you. I still haven't confronted my husband about what he's doing. And the other night, after my update, after waiting an hour or two, sure enough, he snuck out again for his nightly diaper sniff. I was planning on confronting him, but he ended up coming inside after only smelling 1 or 2. And by the time he came back into bed, I was too nervous and flustered to say anything, so I just pretended to be asleep. I've decided, though, that either tonight or whenever he goes outside next, he doesn't every night, but most nights, to take a photo of him in the act and be waiting for him with the evidence when he returns inside. I've never been good with words, and I'm just too nervous to sit down with him and bring it up. And someone suggested I photograph/video him so he has no choice to explain, since I obviously have evidence, and leave him no room to pass it off, as he may be seeing him doing it something else. Hopefully I can get a clear enough picture that'll be enough for him to realize that there's no way out but confront the issue. I'm nervous about how he will react, but I know he loves me and our family, and hopefully there is some way we can work through whatever this is together as a family. Thanks again for all the supportive comments and advice. There has been overwhelming support and only a few weird comments, and I really appreciate people reserving judgment of my family and I. I will update again once I've confronted him, and hopefully I'll be able to wrap this up nicely, and it'll be a happy endings all around. And then the OP gives us an update saying, first of all, I'm really sorry that it's taken so long to update about this. I've just logged on now for the first time in weeks because things have been absolutely insane for me. I've been putting off coming on here and updating because I'm ashamed and upset, and things didn't go the way I'd hoped after confronting my husband. Oh boy, what the fuck happened and where is this about to go? I have no clue. And then the OP says, and it's all been just way too much for me to handle confronting myself, let alone confessing to all of you. But I understand I posted my confession on here for advice, was met with overwhelming response, support, and understanding, and it's only fair that I give you guys at least one update on the situation as it stands today. I hope you all understand that I didn't want to go into too much detail with this. Firstly, to protect our identities, because regardless of what happens, I never did this to name and shame anyone. And secondly, because it's all too painful right now for me to sit down and write out every inch of hurt that has happened to me and my family over the past few weeks. I just don't have that emotional strength right now. Maybe in time I will, but right now, I just don't. So forgive me in advance if this is brief or I skim over details or dodge specifics. Basically, a few nights after I posted my last edit on the previous post, I gathered the courage to confront my husband. In hindsight, it might have not been the best way to do it, but at the time it seemed logical in the least confronting way I could, with still providing proof for me and my husband to see. So that night, I took some pictures with my iPhone and a short video out our bedroom window of my husband outside. It was blurry and hard to see, but enough for him to understand I knew what was going on. I waited for him on our bed with the evidence for a good 45 minutes before he came back upstairs. I expected him to be shocked and ask me what I was doing, but instead, he surprised me. He said something along the lines of, "Oh, did the baby wake you up? I was just downstairs eating some leftovers." Kisses me on the cheek. "Good night then," and tucks himself in and rolls over to sleep. I was dumbfounded at how quick he was to lie straight to my face. I guess when he came upstairs, I expected him to not be able to hold back from what he had been doing, or at least be worried about why I was awake, or the fact that I was awake. It made me so mad to see he was so prepared to lie to my face and pretend everything was fine when I had been concerned and upset for weeks. That I exploded. I marched around the bed and shoved the evidence in his face, yelling at him and asking what the fuck he'd been doing for all this time and why. I demanded answers. The next few hours went by in a blur of yelling and arguing. His argument basically was that I didn't, couldn't, and would never understand why he did it. So why should he even bother telling me? My issue was the fact that I was trying really hard to be understanding of his nightly trash can visits, but instead I just got lied to by the one person in the world who was supposed to be honest to me. A lot more yelling, and I'm bawling at this stage, and ask between sobs if it's some sort of weird arousal thing for him. And he surprises me once more by going completely silent and just looks down at his feet. I explode once more, asking him how on earth can he find our child's poop in a arousal way, to which he got angrier than I've ever seen him before in my life. He yelled at me, "See, this is exactly why I can't ever tell you," and walked out our front door and drove off. He's been staying at his brother's house since, and hasn't been able to see our son. Frankly, if he's getting off by our son in any way, I don't want him here. I thought I'd give us a few days to cool down before calling him, but he called the next day and said we needed to talk about getting a divorce. Wow. We tried to both have a calm conversation. I said to him, "Please, let's try and sort something out, counseling, anything." And all he said in reply was, "Can I see my son though?" And I told him that honestly, I didn't think it was a good idea at this time considering the circumstances. He said okay and told him he'd be getting a lawyer and I probably should be too. So right now, we're doing it as civilly as we can through the legal system. But I doubt that he has anything against me considering I have evidence of sorts. My mother has come to stay with me in the family home to help out with the baby, and I haven't had the courage to tell her what our divorce is over. I'm just too ashamed. All I've said is, it's bad, and I tried giving him the option to counseling, which he rejected, and that's that. I don't know what will happen from here, but I thought at least you guys should know the essence of it. Thanks again for all the support and understanding. I hope you don't judge me for the way I approached it. I know I could have done better, but what's done is done, and I need to just put my heartbreak aside and try moving forward for the sake of my son, because he is and always will be the priority in my life. And it has been 8 years since the last update. And I mean, wow, that was one hell of a confession. And I do not know how this OP is going to approach telling her mother how they got divorced. But I see no fault in the way she approached this. I mean, anybody, if they see their significant other go outside every single night to sniff their child's poop, yeah, they would be a little bit weirded out by that. They'd be like, "Hey, what are you doing at night?" And then the husband gets super defensive and starts like very, very weird. I think it's crazy how quickly he's like, "Let's get a divorce." I mean, it seems pretty damning in my opinion, especially when she asked, what was the question? Like, why do you find it interesting to, sniff our child's poop, and talking about the child? And he got very weird about that, which I think is very, very suspicious, very, 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 very odd, obviously, and very creepy. A very wild confession. This isn't the usual confession I cover, but I just thought it was insane and also pretty disturbing. So I just thought I might have to add it. But what are your guys' thoughts on this? I just thought it was pretty wild. I am not proud of my son. This Saturday, my son will have been sober for 18 months. He got his GED this year, and he starts at community college at the end of August. He finally has a job that I didn't get for him. Soon he'll be moving into his own apartment, and he hasn't missed a single appointment with his therapist. He has done everything you would expect of a precocious 17-year-old who hit a rough patch after meeting with a particularly bad influence. He is 29. This is the point where I'm supposed to say that. Nevertheless, I'm still proud of him for turning his life around, getting off drugs and off the streets, staying out of trouble, and acting like a responsible adult. Or at least an adult who knows the meaning of responsible. Maybe I'll throw in a reference to the prodigal son and kill a fatted calf for him. That's certainly what's expected of me. That's certainly what my son expects of me. He demands praise and forgiveness and a party and me to hug him and tell him he's all right. Demands me to tell him how proud I am that he's made something of himself. But I'm not. Because he hasn't. Not in the slightest. His mother and I gave him every opportunity we could. I don't expect any praise for that because, unlike my son, I don't expect praise for doing what you're supposed to. She and I worked hard to give him a loving, stable, comfortable, supportive home. We were involved in his school. We introduced him to music to the extent that any two people can. His mother was a damn good cellist though. And sports and culture. We fed him healthy meals. We played with him. Thanks to him, we got in the best shape we'd ever been in since our 20s. And we let him stumble and fall and make mistakes and get back up again. He started shoplifting at 15. The first time we caught him, we bodily dragged him back to the store, made him return the copy of Grand Theft Auto and apologize, and offered to pay for any damages. The second time we caught him, this time with a pair of shoes, we did the same thing. The third time, we started going to family therapy. Therapy seemed to go well, and after a few sessions, the therapist asked for a few one-on-one meetings with him. After 2 of those, the police came knocking on our door. Because the little shit had concocted some story about how we were a religious cult who R-worded him for breakfast every Saturday, and the dumb chicken shit therapist actually believed him. Rational heads prevailed, and we fired that therapist, and he went through 6 more in as many months, until eventually we couldn't find anyone who would take him as a patient. By 16, he was drinking. Then we found pot in his bedroom, and in our bedroom. He started leaving needles and other sort of drug paraphernalia where he knew we'd eventually find them, just to fuck with us. I know this because he said so, in those exact words. He had his first intervention and first trip to rehab that year, and his first relapse. He had to repeat a year of high school at 17, which meant he was now the ringleader of a group of other young dipshits, who saw him as the totemic mentor shaman who could hook them up with whatever shit they wanted. I'm also damn sure he started hooking up with one of the gang's younger sisters who was very young around then, but I had nothing to go on but my own instincts. So all I could do was tell her parents to keep an eye on her. No charges were ever pressed, and the family never spoke to me again after that, but they did pull both of their kids out of the school, and my son was furious at me for daring to not let him continue committing statutory R-word. He decided to try for normal R-word later on, while I was away. He spent an uncharacteristic night at home, and on his best behavior, after his mother went to sleep, he followed her into her bedroom. He took a knife with him. He crept into the room, straddled her, put the blade to her throat, and slid his other hand to do something to her. And I'm sure you can fill in the blank, but it's horrible. I don't know exactly what happened next. I know he held her down and tried to undress her. I know she fought. I know he stabbed her. I know she got away and locked herself in the bathroom before he could catch her. I hope that means she kicked him good in the balls. I know she broke the window and screamed for help. I know he ran. I know she was lucky the ambulance got to her before she bled to death. I know he called his friends to brag and beg a ride. I know the police caught him. I know if I'd been home, or if I'd caught him, I'd have killed him with my bare hands. The state tried my son as an adult. He pled out, but only after making his mother testify and smiling the whole time. She divorced me a month after his sentencing. I looked too much like him. She committed S-word a year later. I would be a liar if I said I didn't blame him for her death, because I absolutely do. He was sober when he went into her room, sober when he pulled out his knife, sober when he climbed on top of her, sober when he R-worded her, sober when he stabbed her, sober when he ran, sober when he called his friends to brag, and sober when the police found him. When I made the mistake of visiting him after the divorce, he laughed and said she'd had enough of his dick, that I could never satisfy her. When I made the mistake of visiting him after she committed S-word, he laughed again and asked how it felt to have some guy take your bitch away. I should have killed him right there. It is to my eternal shame that I did not. They let him out after serving 3 years. He spent the next 6 years on the streets, in and out of rehab, on and off other people's couches, and would grace me every 6 months or so with a phone call demanding money. Eventually, I refused to talk to him unless it was to drive him back to rehab, and I stopped completely after he stole my wallet. 2 years ago, he came to my house with his aunt, his mother's sister, in tow and crocodile tears in his eyes. He pretended to apologize. I slammed the door. His aunt barges in to try to shame me into forgiving the man who R-worded my wife, caused her death, and laughed about. He stayed outside. He slashed my tires, threw a brick through a window, and drove off in her car. His aunt had no idea that he'd taken his keys, or that he'd been armed the whole time. She blamed me. He guilted her into letting him stay with her, went to rehab and relapsed, and then went again, and here we are. In stark contrast to the ball of shit that is my son in his life, I've watched my friends and colleagues, those who will still talk to me, that is, children go on to become doctors, lawyers, skilled tradesmen, actors and musicians, academics, entrepreneurs, and career military. I've seen a few start their own families, and even the ones who've had a rough start, or who stumbled and fell, managed to pick themselves up again, or are bravely soldiering on. I have nothing but respect for them. I also note that they do not expect juice and a fucking cookie for having a job and not getting hopped up on crystal or R-wording their mothers for 18 whole months. My son has pretended to reform before. He has even convinced himself once or twice. But he always backslides, always relapses, always finds new ways to disappoint, always hurts other people for his own short-sighted belief. His aunt is already at the stage where she's pretending she must have forgotten, where she put some knick-knack or piece of jewelry, and has already told me to fuck off after I've warned her of what my son can, will, and has done before, and what he will do again now that he thinks she is weak. When he fucks up again, when he hurts someone else with his ceaseless bullshit, I will not be there to pick up after him. I'm through with him. I'm through with his aunt. I cannot talk to her without being overcome with rage and shame as I see the stupid hope I used to have that my son would ever amount to anything. And I do not need any more disappointment and failure in my life. I am not proud of my son. I'm sorry for inflicting him upon the world. I killed someone today, and nothing feels like it's the right thing to do. 19 hours ago, 2 a.m. where I live, I was driving on the freeway and a motorcyclist lost control of their vehicle, and I arrived at the scene just as the police did. There wasn't a normal warning where the police weave from one side of the highway to the other to warn of a crash. 1 second I saw police lights, the very next second I saw a body in the road. There wasn't enough time for me to evade or avoid, and I drove over the motorcyclist. He is dead. Everything since has just felt something I should be doing. After the police told me I was to go, I couldn't, and they ended up calling a crisis therapist to convince I was allowed to leave. But I couldn't just go home after the realization that there were pieces of a person on my car. I couldn't just go home and leave parts of a human being to deal with afterwards. So the therapist and officer told me I should go to a car wash. But that felt, well, I still don't know how that felt, to be honest, but it felt like the less wrong thing to do, so I agreed. Somehow, in my shock, I had convinced myself that this is just something that happened to me and I'd be okay once everything was over. But once I started the car wash, everything I convinced myself of just fucking crumbled. My plan that I'd be alright crumbled. My thoughts of I can manage the situation crumbled. I crumbled. The entire time I was physically washing my car, I was uncontrollably bawling my eyes out. The thought that this piece here once was a part of a person and I'm just washing it off as though it used to be a bug broke me. After getting home and sleeping the little bit I could, everything just feels wrong. My 1-year-old making me smile at how loving she is felt wrong. My fiance consoling me and trying to distract me felt wrong. Being able to pet my dogs felt wrong. Me not being on the side of the road and not being stuck forever to that spot of road feels wrong. Existing at this very moment feels so indescribably wrong. All day my family has been bombarding my phone trying to reach out, but I just can't handle being asked how I'm doing again. I feel wrong, and I can't even explain how wrong is an emotion, but wrong is all I can say. My mom tried to force me to go to an aviary with my family, but again, everything is wrong. The person I killed will never go to an aviary, so how can I just go like nothing happened? This was probably not the best thing I did today, but I just looked at my car and noticed all of the damage I didn't look close enough to see earlier this morning during the car wash. And I froze, just unable to move, unable to reconcile my feelings or thoughts, and everything just hit like I wash back at the car wash. And again, I just stood there sobbing uncontrollably. I don't know what to do. Everyone I've tried to talk to, family, therapists, police officers, all are telling me I did the best I could and try to help me cope, but right now at this moment, they are wrong. Everything is just wrong. And now let's get into the comments. And the top comment on this post is actually, I think, very informational and could be of use for everyone watching if you're ever in a horrible situation like the OP just listed and just told us about. But let's get into the comment. Someone says, this is going to sound like an insensitive troll post, but I swear it's not. Right now, if you're ruminating over what happened, your brain is hard coding the memories, and that could lead to PTSD. The way to stop this from happening is to download a copy of Tetris and start playing it to take your mind off of it. It will interfere with what your brain is trying to do and will greatly reduce your chance at getting PTSD from this. I'm not kidding. You can read about it here, and then the commenter lists a study, and then they continue saying, what happened was awful, but it doesn't need to haunt you forever. And then they continue saying, people are asking if it has to be Tetris or if any other games will work. I'm not an expert, but I think Tetris is the perfect game for this because no two games are alike. The rules are understood immediately. Its core mechanic is two-dimensional image rotation that forces you to envision something other than the traumatic images, and there's a time limit on your thinking. There's no time to ruminate because the next piece is already on its way. Classic Tetris can't be won, only lost. So it has a natural hook to continue playing. And I just thought that was so interesting and also just a great kind of piece of information for everyone watching. If God forbid something this horrible happens to you, it's a way to reduce the likelihood of PTSD is by playing Tetris, which is very, very interesting. And honestly, a lot of people in the comments do say it helped them because it's supposedly recommended by some therapists immediately after something traumatic happens, which I've never heard of before, but seems kind of legit. I mean, it kind of makes sense. It just takes your mind off of it and your brain won't, like the commenter said, hard code the images into your brain, so you're less likely to get PTSD. Very interesting. And then the OP even replies to this saying, thank you, downloaded the game last night after falling asleep. I believe the game allowed my brain to stop replaying the images enough to where I was able to sleep for at least 3 hours. And yeah, what happened to the OP is just so unlucky and horrible. I mean, it's not the OP's fault that they were driving down the road at that time when the motorcycle fell off or was laying in the road. I mean, it's just horrible. And it's just a complete freak accident. And it's not the OP's fault to have to endure this pain and this, mental toll. And now let's get into one more comment, because these comments are very good at, telling the OP and just in general how to process traumatic experiences. So this person says, as someone who has killed intentionally at war and sent people to die, I can tell you that it is perfectly okay to not be okay. You are going to have feelings that will sometimes feel overwhelming. The important thing is to feel them. Be angry at yourself. Be angry at the world. Most of it all, it is okay to be angry at the motorcyclist. You'll feel all of this at different times. And you know what? That is okay too. This is a process, and it will take time. Just don't shut down. Trying to push these feelings away will do irreparable harm to you. All of the feelings are valid in their own time. Guilt will kill you slowly or fast, but it will kill you. Accept what you have done and find the grace to eventually forgive yourself. It is not going to be easy, but keep talking and keep feeling. And people keep saying it, talking is very important. And I just think what the two things we just read were very interesting, and it could be just some good information to keep in the back of your mind if you ever experience something traumatic. Tetris after something can help your brain process it and not really remember it as well, which I guess is good. And kind of confronting the feelings and confronting the thoughts is also good. Don't try to push it away, because I think it'll rear its ugly head eventually. But this was just a horrible situation that the OP had to go with or deal with. And not really confession, but kind of. The OP killed someone, but it's just not the OP's fault at all. Just such a freak accident that's so horrible. Viewer submitted confession. Hey Snook, I'd like to remain completely anonymous for this, and I appreciate you understanding. A few years ago, I worked for a moving company and took a lot of pride in my job. I was reliable, consistent, and put in the effort to the point where I was being considered for a promotion. There were two of us in line for it, myself and another employee, who I'll refer to as M. Around the time the promotion was discussed, I became aware that M was an undocumented worker and that the company owner was paying him under the table. This put me in an uncomfortable position, as it involved both employment practices and immigration laws. After giving it some thought, I reported the situation to the appropriate authorities. A few days later, M was no longer working at the company. He left quietly, without explanation, and that was the last I heard of him. Not long after, I was offered the promotion. No one at the company knew that I had made the report, and I never spoke about it. From a legal standpoint, I followed the proper process. Still, it's a situation I think about from time to time. Not out of regret for following the law, but because of the human impact decisions like that can have. I hope M is doing well and was able to find proper stability elsewhere. Thank you for reading this, Snook. You do a lot for your community, and it doesn't go unnoticed. OP's gaming addiction costs him everything. And just a quick note before we get into this one, with those not familiar with the game itself, Star Citizen is an in-development multiplayer, space trading, and combat simulation game. It's been in development since 2012. It uses almost entirely crowdfunding for costs, and as such has players buy in-game spaceships for real money, with the cheapest being $45. And some ship packages having a price of up to $48,000 according to one article I saw. Some of these ships aren't in game yet and are considered, quote, concept ships, essentially pre-ordering in-game items. Many people consider this game to be a scam based on the amount of time it's been in development, missed development milestones, delays, and the exorbitant prices of some of its contents. And the first post the OP made is actually deleted by the moderators and we can't see it, but from context I've seen online, basically the OP made two posts saying he spent nearly $5,000 on the game and needs help. But let's get into the comments. Someone says, pay back what you owe immediately and don't rack up debt. And the OP says, but I need the new spaceships. And then someone else replies saying, so your girlfriend literally left you because you bought so many ships to the point she had enough of it and dumped you? Honestly, bud, I'd do the same if I was in her shoes. And so off the bat, OP's in a bad place. I mean, this isn't really a spiral. It seems like he's already, on the downward trajectory and has a bad addiction. Someone else says, if trolling, good job. If serious, stop. These things aren't real, and some folks have more money than they need so they can buy things like JPEGs. All you need is a starter. Play the game and earn them in-game. IAE FOMO hits hard by design, but these ships will still be there and still be earnable in-game. And I didn't even know that, so why would you waste so much money just buying the ships? I guess you're just impatient. And then the OP says, I'm Wing Commander now. I don't know how I got here. I can't pay my rent this month. Jeez, man. He already can't pay his rent. Someone else says, from every comment you made, this one is the most disturbing. All of us commenters don't know you. We don't know your relationship or family background. It is hard for us to judge your situation, but you spending money you do not have is a very serious sign. This, more than anything else, is a sign of addiction that even a stranger on the internet can spot. I see many people have suggested therapy, but I know that is a huge step for an addict. I would suggest that you, at the very least, find people to talk to that can understand your urges. There are many good self-help group projects around addiction in general. Start by going to a group and just listening and maybe telling your story. Even if you don't believe any of us that you have a problem, take the fact that you don't have any money for rent as a sign to take the off-ramp before not only your relationship unravels, it can't hurt to go talk to someone who understands. Take care, OP, and know that you can beat this. And so, off the bat, the OP is already in the depths of addiction with spending money on this game. He can't even pay his rent, and seemingly he seems like he's gonna break up with his girlfriend, or his girlfriend's gonna leave him. And just bad situation already. And then the OP makes a post saying, update on my situation, posted November 26th, 2023, and the post reads as follows. Follow up to my previous post because maybe you don't believe me. My girlfriend is pissed about how much I spent on ships last week, and she said she may actually leave and went back to her parents. I had to tell her I ruined my credit, and we can't get a new apartment this year until I fix it. Credit is too bad to rent in New York City at our salary. I kind of wish this was a joke, but I have a genuine addiction. This week, I've accumulated over 5,000 in pledges. I have no idea what I'm doing. Please help. I don't know what 5,000 in pledges is, but I guess that's a big deal. And then someone in the comments says, request refunds from support and seek some professional help with your impulse control. There's nothing that anyone here will be able to help you with directly. Someone else says, CIG can't help either. It was all gray market purchases. And then the OP says, what's the point? She's walking out. And then the commenter says, the point is you have a fucking problem that is literally overtaking your real life. Get fucking help. Holy fuck. You posted in other subreddits about how she is actually leaving you, but not before you update your Star Citizen status. You are never going to get above this unless you get help. Delete your account and take things fucking seriously. Your wake-up call was the first incident of spending your money on this game. I would call it mental health problems, but you say down, fix the issue a bit, then did it again. And now, single as fuck, you still haven't stopped or gotten help. And then another commenter says, ask for a refund. Number 2, go get professional help. If you suffer from addiction, it's not only going to be Star Citizen. Get help now so you can learn to manage it. Number 3, inform your girlfriend of the steps you have taken and tell her that she means more to you than the game. That is insanity. Do the same thing and expect a different outcome. Someone else says, look at his post history. They were all gray market purchases. Dude is beyond fucked. And then the OP makes an update saying, this is the fleet that cost me and my girlfriend, posted on November 26th, 2023. And then he posts a picture of the fleet for everyone watching that plays Star Citizen. Is this good? I don't know. I don't play that game. And then the OP says, she's nowhere near as excited as I am about the Astara. And from that sentence, it seems like he's being he's playing with it. He's sarcastic. I can't tell if he genuinely wants help or it's just kind of back and forth. He's like, she's nowhere as excited as I am about this thing. It seems kind of sarcastic and playful almost. So is he really down bad yet? Or is he not really hurting for the money? You know what I mean? But let's get into his next post. It was titled, am I the asshole for breaking a needless promise after fixing a situation? And then the post reads as follows. A while back, my significant other and I hit a rough patch. I'm an avid player of Star Citizen, and admittedly, I tend to go overboard with it. A few months ago, during a sale, I impulsively spent our saved down payment for a house on virtual spaceships. Our saved down payment for a house. Holy shit. Understandably, she was furious and temporarily left. I realized my mistake, apologized, and took on an extra job to replenish our savings. I'm close to restoring our financial status to its original state, though it will take another 6 months to fully recover, not accounting for my personal debt. As part of the reconciling, she asked me not to purchase any more spaceships for 6 months. Initially, this seemed reasonable, but over time, I've come to view it as somewhat excessive. Despite this, I recently bought a few more spaceships, and she discovered it, now considering leaving me for good. I thought that by nearly restoring the savings I had spent, I made amends for my actions. I genuinely enjoy collecting spaceships in the game. She's also concerned about my credit score and other financial issues, but I'm confident I can rectify those in the coming years, given that I've already managed to recover most of our savings through extra work. I'm struggling to understand if I'm in the wrong for breaking what now seems like an arbitrary promise, or if her reaction to leave over what I consider my primary hobby is unjustified. And now let's get into some comments, and someone says, "Here, I fixed it for you. I'm a professional gambler. One night, I gambled all of our mutual savings for a down payment away. She was pissed and we agreed on me working extra shifts to pay back the savings and not to gamble for at least 6 months. I paid back the savings and now gambling again like nothing happened, and I didn't betray her trust by gambling our savings away in the first place. Now she doesn't trust me anymore and wants to leave me, and I have no idea why. Also, my credit sucks now and I still have my personal debts while spending money on gambling again. Why doesn't she want a future with me anymore? What else can she want with a dude with debt, bad credit, and a gambling addiction who already gambled away your mutual savings once? I'm a catch, but she somehow doesn't see it this way? Why?" So this commenter is obviously kind of replacing the gaming addiction with gambling, and it makes it seem kind of worse. And then the OP has a interesting response to this, saying, "It is not gambling because I own the ships," which is a weird way to rationalize it. But then the guy comments saying, "You're gambling on their resale value, unless you have no intention of selling at all, in which case they aren't an investment in any helpful way here. You've mentioned in other responses that you see them as an investment, and they contribute nothing practical to your life. The very best you can hope for is a morale boost for time spent on your hobbies, and while it's nice to have that, you've gone so far over the line that you've risked and probably lost your relationship. You know full well you must do. Nobody can be this deluded." And I agree, the OP just seems so, just kind of delusional. He's like, why does my girlfriend not see this as a hobby? Because you spent your fucking down payment on a house on video games. I mean, anybody would leave their significant other after that. Or not everybody, but a significant amount of people would. I mean, imagine you work your ass off, you're saving up with your significant other, and then boom, spends all the money on a video game? How does this guy not see that he's the problem here? And then another commenter says, "Wait, you spent $15,000 on digital spaceships in a game that were to be used for a house down payment behind the back of your spouse? After she discovered it, you told her that you'd replenish the money and stop buying ships for 6 months? You did get a job, and before both conditions were met, you already bought another goddamn spaceship? And you have the audacity to pretend they are investments in one comment and say that you would never sell them in another? Which is it, dipshit? Let me tell you, it's going to be a divorce. Please never reproduce and get your addiction under control before ever getting another girlfriend. Forget the judgment, in case it wasn't clear enough." And then someone else says, $15,000 on a video game? He's lucky she didn't stab him. Someone else says he buried the lead too. If you read his other posts, he dropped another 5K on virtual shit. And then the OP makes another post saying, 31 male, can I rebuild trust with my girlfriend after gaming addiction ruined our apartment plans? And then the post reads as follows. 31 male facing a crisis I never expected. My girlfriend and I had plans to move to a better apartment, but I jeopardized our dream by spending our savings on Star Citizen, a video game. This incident has made me realize that I might be battling a gaming addiction and impulsive spending. Despite her initial forgiveness and a clear agreement to not buy more in-game items for 6 months while replenishing our savings, I failed to stick to our plan. This breach of trust led to a major argument, especially after I refused her suggestion to sell my gaming account. Consequently, she's left, and we haven't spoken since. Oh boy. This situation has hit me hard, making me see how my gaming habit has turned from a hobby into a destructive force in my life. I'm struggling with the self-realization that my actions have not only damaged my relationship, but are also affecting my financial stability, as my credit score is now in jeopardy. The most painful part is recognizing how much I love her and the extent of the turmoil I'm in. I'm earnestly seeking advice on how to address my addiction and possibly salvage my relationship. And what I think is just crazy, before moving on to the comments, that he's just now kind of realizing that. It took her leaving him to even begin to think, oh, how do I get better? He hasn't listened to any of the comments suggesting get therapy, go to some sort of addiction counseling or whatever, talk to anybody. And now that he finally left her, now he's like, okay, I guess I'll get help. I guess I have an addiction. Like, it's so delayed. Like, he never even realized or wanted to take the advice that people gave him earlier. So what says he's going to take it now, you know? But let's get into some comments. Someone says, so let me get this straight. Number 1, you stole her money to buy pixel spaceships. Number 2, she forgave you as long as you stopped buying pixel spaceships. Number 3, you kept buying pixel spaceships. Number 4, you refused to fix the problem by selling off your pixel spaceships. Number 5, she realizes you love pixel spaceships more than her and left for good. I mean, dude, I'm sorry, but she's well shut of you. She's never coming back, and if she did, she'd still resent you. The childish response would be to keep sinking money you don't have into Star Citizen. The moral response would be to sell your account and send her the money that you owe her after you stole her savings. Someone else says, dude, I'm looking at your post history. You're in full-on denial about how you're spending/gaming addiction. You 1000% have an issue after you spent $15,000 in 6 months on optional purchases for a mobile game. And I looked it up. It's not a mobile game. It's a PC game. So I don't know why this commenter said that. But then they said, there's no way you can salvage the relationship without first addressing this issue. And even then, the chances are low that she'll take you back. If anything, you need to do this for yourself and your future. Do you want to have bad credit / be alone / be in debt to a game 10 years from now? You need to go cold turkey with this game. Sell your account / ships and lock yourself out of your account and go to therapy. And then the OP makes another post saying, resisting the urge to buy more ships. These repeat sales are making it quite difficult to leave the old credit card holstered. I can't be the only one. I do like that we get each a second chance though. And then some people in the comments say, don't buy more ships, dude. And then the OP said, I didn't. Someone else says, this profile has to be a troll at this point. If not, holy fuck, get actual help, like a therapist or a psych. Someone else says, I think so too. Looking at his fleet pick from 2 weeks ago, surely he's not missing any ship either, flight ready or concept. And then the OP says, missing a cutter. I don't really know what that terminology means. And then the OP makes a final update saying, hey, I ruined my life over a video game. It's all starting to come together for me. I essentially ruined my life over a video game. I'm in massive unrecoverable debt. My girlfriend left me. My parents are refusing to speak to me. I have constant anxiety and my life is falling apart. I'm going to lose my job and I might lose my apartment. I haven't spent any money on games in a bit. I don't know, sorry, this is so disorganized. I just need to vent. And then the OP makes one final post about this titled $61,000 in credit debt with no end in sight. And sadly, the post was taken down by moderators, so we can't see the details, but just from the title alone, holy shit. He got it up to $61,000 in credit debt. Credit card debt is so dangerous. I mean, the interest on those is insane. That $61,000 can compile into something horrific if he doesn't start paying it off. But that is just such a tragic story in spiral. And that was posted about a year ago or 2 years ago. And the OP's account has been deleted since then, so we have no idea what he's up to. Hopefully he was able to sell his account for a decent chunk of change and kind of bite away a lot of that $61,000. But from his habits that we can obviously see here, he wasn't making any sort of effort to help recover from his addiction and impulse spending and video game addiction. I mean, it's just horrible. I mean, he lost everything over a silly video game. I mean, video games are fun, but to ruin your life over them, yeah, that's just so tragic. And now let's get into some comments on this thread. Someone says, the scary thing is that his comments indicate that he clearly hasn't hit rock bottom yet. Addiction is scary, and he's ruined his and his girlfriend's life. And now he has no girlfriend and just crippling debt and a Star Citizen account, I guess. Hope it keeps him warm, comfortable, and housed at night. And then someone comments under this commenter saying, agreed. In the January 11th post, it's all passive. The gaming addiction ruined the apartment plans. Not his gaming addiction, and definitely not OP himself. It was just a random gaming addiction that came out of nowhere to destroy his life. And then someone else comments underneath that saying, yeah, this reads as a horror story. From the perspective of having spent a lot of time with gambling addicts and how their brain was working during their addiction, this dude clearly has a long way to fall. God help him. And I mean, just after reading those comments, you can see that everyone kind of agrees that it's not going to stop anytime soon because he didn't seek out for help once. And I mean, it's not going to just stop magically. And with just reading all his posts over the years, I mean, this was over years, like he didn't seem to want to get help once. He just kept blaming and saying, how can I recover things, but kept doing what was ruining things. I mean, just so sad. And yeah, like I said, it's been about a year and a half, 2 years since these posts were made or the final post was made. So hopefully he hasn't kept falling. Hopefully he learned from his mistakes and started to recover and got his life back together, but who knows really. My adultery ruined my life. I hate myself for it. I'm writing this with a lot of pain in mind. I don't expect people to give me sympathy. I just wanted to share my story so that people could take a lesson. So please, before you cheat on your husband/wife/partner, think about what you are giving up for a few minutes of pleasure. I, 37 male, married my wife Annie, 35 female, about 13 years ago. We dated for 3 years and tied the knot. Our marriage was great. We were really happy. Suddenly, she becomes pregnant. I know it is kind of our fault because we didn't use protection every time. We decided to keep the baby, and our son, 10 male, was born. I thought our family was complete, but things drastically changed. My wife was always busy with our son. She used to be this fit girl who was always radiant, but she just looked like a zombie to me. She didn't care about how she looked while she was in public. I started to feel resentment towards her. Before I did anything stupid, I talked to her and gave her an ultimatum that if she doesn't go back her normal shape, I would leave her. She started to cry and say that she's always exhausted and doesn't have time. I told her I would help her as much as I can, but looking back now, I did the bare minimum. The trouble came when she was again pregnant after 5 years. All the hard work she has done was down the drain. She gained a lot of weight. I avoided her. Just looking at her made me sick. I was either at the gym or at the bar. I was looking for excuses to not come home. That's when I met a girl at my gym. She was hot and had a nice body. She was also very much younger than I was, 20 female. We started talking. I felt alive again. I felt like someone is here in front of me who appreciates me a lot. A few days later, I went to her house and we hooked up. It was like a drug to me. I didn't realize that I was becoming more and more distant with my family, so just like every cheater, I got caught. My wife found out that I was hooking up with someone else. She broke down in tears right in front of me, and she just kept repeating, "How could you do this to me? You broke our family." At that time, I did something bad. I'm still ashamed of it. I yelled at her and called her a hag. I told her if she looked after herself, I wouldn't have cheated. That it is all her fault. My wife started laughing. It confused me. She said if I helped her, she might have had the time. I was never home and outside fucking some random girl. She told me she wanted a divorce right there. I was really hateful towards her and said, "Fine, you can, but you really think any man would ever want you with your baggage, my kids?" I could see it broke her and crushed her. I wanted that at the time. The divorce was settled. She only wanted the house. We shared the custody of the kids. The divorce felt like a relief. I could be with my girlfriend whenever I wanted to. But that is when I saw the changes. Whenever I was home, the house was not clean. There would be dishes in the sink for days. I remember looking at them and calling Annie, but Annie didn't live in my house. It became tougher when it was my weekend to have the kids. I realized I knew jack shit about my kids. My son was a picky eater. My daughter was still very little. She would cry a lot. It was exhausting. No matter how much I try, my son would always complain about everything and tell me that's not how his mother did it. That wasn't the end of the problems. Things with my girlfriend became bland way too soon. My wife would always have a home-cooked meal ready for me, but my girlfriend is just happy to have leftover or frozen pizza for all she cares. I was sick of it. Intimate life was also very boring. My ex-wife was really great at being intimate. I never had any bad intimate experiences with her, but my girlfriend lacked imagination. Also, she has really one-dimensional personality. My son really picked on things. He started to resent me. He was rude towards my girlfriend. My girlfriend would abuse him by calling him a brat. The last straw was when my son yelled at me and said that he hated me and my girlfriend would never be his mommy. It struck me like a thunder. Things ended with her right there. On the other hand, Annie started to change a lot. She lost a lot of weight. She looked relaxed and like her old self. I once complimented her that she looked good. I only got a cold "thank you" back. I got to know from a mutual friend of ours that she would sometimes say that the divorce made her realize she deserved better. And things got better because she had some time for herself. Before that, she had to clean up my mess, and now there's hardly any mess left. I was hit with another realization that I treated her badly. I never helped her when she needed my help the most. Annie understood me. She was kind and passionate. She was just going through a rough phase and I kicked her to the curb. I went into depression. I asked Annie if she'd give me a chance. She said no. I don't blame her. From my son, I got to know she started dating an old friend of hers. My son loves him. My daughter calls him Dada. I tried my best for my daughter to call me that, but she didn't. I met them together at a business convention. That man had his arms around my Annie and was showing her off. I was angry. I felt this rage inside of me. Later that night, I drank a lot and started to call Annie. I spewed nonsense that her new boy toy is nothing but a weak man that is dating a pathetic single mom like her. I know this because the next day, she came to my house along with my parents. My parents ripped me apart and said to stay the hell away from Annie. I lost my kids, my wife, and I already lost my parents after the divorce. I never felt so alone. I wake up on my bed empty. Annie would always cuddle me early in the morning. I missed her warmth. Things between my son didn't improve. He probably knows why me and his mother aren't together. A few months ago, Annie dropped a bomb. She said that she was pregnant. That was the moment I knew I lost her forever. From that moment, whenever I went to her house to get my kids, I would see how her boyfriend basically worships her and takes care of her needs. If I wasn't so stupid or arrogant and helped her, cherished her, we would still be a happy family. I guess this is my punishment. I have to see another man play family with my Annie and kids. So please, please don't be like me. If you really cannot, just divorce or break up with that person. I have hurt a lot of people because of my selfishness. And then the OP gives us an update saying, it has been 2 months since I posted on this place. I know I deserve all the hate comments I got. I know I am a piece of shit. I deserve to be miserable. And to all those saying it is rage bait and that I am a troll, I am not. I needed a place to vent anonymously. I needed people to hear me. I knew that I would get hate messages. I know I deserve every ounce of hate you guys have for me and even more, but I know I fucked up. I know I was an evil person for what I did. This will always have a huge hole in my heart. I know I have to carry this guilt throughout my life, but to those who said I should get some help, I did. I've been going to therapy for a long time now. Therapy has helped me a lot. It made me a bit lighter, but still I had guilt and shame in my heart. I know I cannot go back in time and fix anything, but I am now trying my best so that I can be a better person than I was a few years ago. The first thing I did was begged for forgiveness from Annie. I told her I knew I was an asshole. She didn't deserve the way I treated her. She is a kind and sweet person. She always has been. And this is my life's biggest regret, that I treated her so horrible, and all I want now is to be a good father to her son. And I wished her and her new family good luck. I know she picked a better man, and I hope she gets everything she deserves. She said she forgives me, but she doesn't want any kind of relationship with, unless, of course, it is about the kids. I also sat down with my son and said sorry to him too. I am an idiot that I didn't realize this whole thing put him and his sister in a weird position. I told both of them sorry individually. My son is still on the fence if he wants to forgive, but I try to be a better dad for them. I now understand I may never have the same kind of relationship with him, but I just want to do my duties as a father. I do not want them to become like me. Whenever they come to my place, I try to be more attentive towards them. My daughter does call me Papa now. I take them to get some ice cream or simply just on a fishing trip. My son likes to draw. I got him some art supplies. I know this will not buy me his love, but I want him to have everything. He has been a little more open towards me. He sometimes asks for my help with his homework. Annie and I also decided that we should take our kids to therapy. They have been through a lot because of me, and I accept the responsibility of the fallout. Lastly, I'm not thinking about dating anyone. I know I do not deserve love in any way, shape, or form. Moreover, I do not want to include any new person in my already messed up life. Maybe in a few years, but not now. Right now, I just want to focus on my kids. Thanks to all of you who gave me some advice. It helped, and thanks for listening. My husband told me he was trying to change, but it was just a lie. He's been lying to me this whole time. I thought he was cheating, but it was even worse. Originally posted to r/true off my chest, and the post reads as follows. Posting anonymously because I don't want anyone I know to find out what's going on with my marriage. I'm so embarrassed. When I was first married, my husband had no interest in gambling. When it started, it was just a few casual bets on football. It has gotten out of control. He doesn't just bet on his football team now, he bets on matches in other countries such as American football or baseball. He even bets on individual sports such as golf and Formula One. He gets angry at individual players if they don't do the things he needs to win his bet. It's more important than his team winning. I couldn't stand how much his gambling was costing us. At first, I thought he was cheating with the way he was acting. I was devastated when I found out he was betting. I wanted a divorce, but he begged me to stay and go to counseling. He said this was a wake-up call and that he would never gamble again. We are going to counseling together, and he's in individual counseling as well. He said he has stopped gambling, but he was lying the entire time. He has been in trouble with the police. They told me police in a different country were investigating posts from social media that threatened a player there. And it was traced back to my husband. My husband lost a bet and blamed that player. I'm not giving him another chance. I'm moving out this week and I'll be seeking a divorce. When I confronted him, he told me he never stopped gambling and was just saying what I wanted to hear. I can't believe how stupid and naive I was. And then a commenter says, "Don't you dare blame yourself. You did the right thing. You gave him a second chance, he blew it, not you. Never feel guilty for being a sympathetic and reasonable person. Shame on him for failing you as a partner. And shame on him for being a piece of shit. Maybe now that the police are involved, this may really be a wake-up call he needed. However, you are not obligated to give him a third chance, and good for you for not doing so. Now give yourself some grace you gave him and put your life back together how you want it. Make yourself happy. And then the OP replies to this commenter saying, maybe now that the police are involved, this may really be a wake-up call he needed. And the OP replies to that saying, I was so embarrassed when I found out what he did and that the police are involved. My husband doesn't seem to share my feelings. He wasn't embarrassed or bothered by this at all. I found out that gambling on sports is becoming more and more of a problem. I never thought it would happen to me. And then another commenter says, I'm really sorry you're going through this. It's an addiction that's going to need far more than just couples counseling. Recovery is possible, but you got to do what you need to protect yourself in your financial present and future as well. With how it sounds like he's escalating. He may find himself in major debt, or even worse, if he doesn't actually get help. I will be the rare one to say, don't rush to a divorce just yet, but starting to reserve and secure finances on your own that he does not have access to should be your first and top priority. Make sure you start having money in your own account away from his or a shared one. Change your passwords on your bank accounts and card information, and don't tell him them. Do tell him that you are separating yourself financially though. Take over bills, check your credit scores, and make sure he hasn't dragged you or your money to his addiction. Then after that, you can start issuing more boundaries and even ultimatums about him getting help, or you will walk for good. Counseling and individual therapy for both of you would be good as well. I know it's a lot, but you can at least then say you tried everything, and then if you do officially divorce and leave him to his own devices, you will have your own finances available and established already anyway. And then the OP replies saying, my husband was going to individual counseling and I had set boundaries. We were also in couples counseling. None of it made a difference. I will not be giving him another chance. He already had one. As I said in my post, I will be seeking a divorce. There is nothing my husband or anyone else can say to make me change my mind. And then the commenter replies to the OP saying, I hear you. That's why I said he needs actual help with the gambling and to go to treatment for that and Gamblers Anonymous, not just counseling. Your feelings and decision is completely valid. Nobody should fault you here. All addictions affect far more than just the addict. I just know how hard it is to decide divorce. I hope you're able to live a stress-free and financially stable life, as well as heal from the heartbreak you've experienced. My ex-husband was a drug addict who became extremely abusive in every way possible. I asked him to choose rehab or divorce. He made a third opening on cheating on me, so I chose divorce for him. I know it's not the same kind of addiction, but you get the point. You're making the right choice for your life. Good luck, and hopefully he's able to break the addiction before he ruins anyone's life, especially his own. And then the OP replied saying, I'm sorry about what happened with your ex-husband, and I hope you're doing well now. The counselor my husband was seeing wasn't the same one we went to for our marriage counseling. She is a counselor for people with a gambling addiction. She also had him going to a support group, but he still lied to me and kept gambling the entire time. Once he admitted he was only saying what I wanted to hear, I knew there was nothing else I could do to save our marriage. And then the OP gives us an update nearly 1.5 months later, saying, update to my husband, told me he was trying to change, but it was all a lie. He's been lying to me the whole time. I thought he was cheating, but it was even worse. I moved out a month ago. I'd already told him I was going to be seeking a divorce. He doesn't want a divorce, even though he outright admitted to me that he kept lying and only said what I wanted to hear. On top of that, he wasn't at all embarrassed or bothered about being in trouble with the police. There is no way I can stay married to him. The divorce process formally began this past week, and I was clear with him about not wanting to see him or have contact ever again. I am trying to move on. Thank you to everybody who left encouraging comments for me last time. That really did help. I did receive multiple messages saying I was being far too sensitive or a stupid woman, but I just deleted them and I've turned off the chat feature now. I appreciate everybody who was encouraging. I never thought something like this would happen to me. My husband didn't start betting until a few years into our marriage. Back then it was casual and only on football. Then he started betting on other sports such as American football and basketball, and it got even worse. I never expected anything like this to happen to me, and I feel so naive and stupid for believing he was trying to change. It was all a lie. As a child, I permanently altered another child's life, and it eats me alive even 15 years later. Hey Snook, I've been following along with your channel for over a year and a half now, and I love what you do. Your videos keep me focused throughout the day, help me when I can't sleep, and I love the community that's formed around your channel. And I just have to say thank you so much for watching. It means the world, and I'm glad my videos can get you through your day. And yeah, the community here is great. You guys are the best. And this confession is something that's been eating me alive every single day and night for over 15 years now, and I'm ready to at least talk about it and put it into words. Whether or not this stays anonymous is fully up to you. And this will remain anonymous. If you guys do send in a confession, they also remain anonymous. So yeah, don't worry about me leaking a name or anything. Everything is completely anonymous. And let's get into it. For starters, this happened when I was 12 years old. I grew up in the kind of family where everyone was reliant on blue-collar work to make a living, mostly construction/contracting, as well as landscaping, building, automotive work, etc. By the time I could walk and talk, I'd always been on a construction site, helping in the garage or learning about tools/equipment. I thought I was so much more progressed than kids my age and older, seeing how I knew how to do so much stuff already before they could. I learned a lot about safety in regards to power tools, being safe in unfinished homes with hazards everywhere, things like that. By the time I was 10, I worked every day with my dad and my grandpa after school while they ran their construction business, always grabbing tools, cleaning up, learning how to use power saws, drills, and other handheld tools. By the time I was 12, young me became pretty cocky in my abilities. I had rebuilt a dirt bike, mowed lawns in the spring and summer, used weed whackers, chainsaws, hedge trimmers, the works. By this time, I worked full-time in the summers as a sort of apprentice to my grandfather to remodel homes, do repairs, and a multitude of different construction projects. During the school year, I would work after school and on weekends with my dad doing similar work, but more landscaping than construction. Long rant, I know, but this is to set the stage as to why I felt confident in my abilities I had at the time. During the spring of 2012, my family lived in central Colorado. In the spring is when we get the most snow. I had always spent winter/spring making money by shoveling snow, clearing ice off walkways or driveways, and moving the huge snowdrift piles from snowplows out of the way from people's houses. This was also a year after my parents split, and with my parents not being on cordial terms in slightest due to what caused their situation, the garage at our house was still stacked to the brim with my dad's and grandfather's extra tools. That year, the snowfall was record-breaking. I believe in March, we got so snowed in we couldn't even open the front door. And for anyone who has ever spent hours upon hours shoveling snow, you'll know it's a lot of work. And being a kid, I was wore out and wanted to make more money faster so I could be inside sooner and play video games or draw. Well, that's where the snowblower comes in. My dad had bought a brand new Kubota snowblower with a twin stage blade that was 28 inches across. The thing was intimidating, sure, but my dad taught me how to use it the winter before because he was too drunk to bother with snowblowing. I decided that I would use said snowblower to clear people's driveways, walkways, and the sidewalks as opposed to shoveling it all by hand. This led to me digging the snowblower out of the garage and fighting with the things piled and stacked around it to finally get it out. After maybe an hour of playing Tetris, scratching my mom's car, and knocking over God knows what in the process, it was out. My prepubescent brain could only think about one thing. Hell yeah, time to make some money. I started with our driveway, before anyone else's. I fought with starting the blower for longer than I'd like to admit. YouTube still didn't have instruction videos for everything, and I finally got it going. Trying to do it like my dad had shown me the year before, I managed to sloppily snow blow our entire driveway and sidewalk. 12-year-old me was elated, and I felt much more confident in this idea, in this business plan, because in my stupid, underdeveloped brain, I'm now a pro because I managed not to break anything or hurt myself. Stupid thought process, no doubt. This led to me drawing up a whole business model, and I was ready to take the neighborhood by storm. That night, I stayed up for hours making crude, hand-drawn flyers to stick in people's mailboxes or tape to their front doors. I watched late into the night how much it was snowing from the kitchen table while I made posters until I was fighting to keep my eyes open. I went to school the next day early, having to walk a mile through knee-deep snow with the biggest money-making idea ever really puts a pep in your step. I gave flyers to my teachers, other kids to give their parents, hell, even the custodian got one. And I was wearing a shit-eating grin ear to ear, thinking about how rich I'm gonna be. It snowed the whole day. I even begged to go outside for recess because they weren't letting us to check the conditions. When school finally let us out, I peeled out of class like a bat out of hell with my backpack jammed full of flyers. On my walk home, I put one into every mailbox I passed and put them on the windows of cars that were buried in the snowdrift from the plows. By the time I made it home, I had gotten rid of at least 40 of them, and I sat waiting eagerly by the landline phone well into the evening. I even begged my mom to not answer the phone if someone called because it could be a customer. This is probably a great time to throw in the fact that my mother, who wasn't really present as a parent or as emotionally involved as most, now going through a messy split with my dad, they'd been together for over 20 years, had no clue that I was doing this. She just thought I was still shoveling snow for the neighbors. I waited late but the evening, hoping for a phone call from literally anyone. I thought at first, people are having dinner. They're probably busy. Then I thought that nobody had bothered to check their mail yet. By the time 8 p.m. rolled around, I was discouraged and angry, feeling like my plan wasn't going to work. So that night, I decided to take a more direct approach. In my mind, I concluded that most people don't work on Saturdays, so people will be home. So what I'll do is go door to door with the snowblower to offer to clear people's driveways. And there's no possible way they could turn me down because I have a snowblower and could get it done fast. And they can enjoy their weekend in their pajamas while I'm the one freezing my ass off. So that night, I went into the garage, brought the snowblower close to the door, filled it with gas that had been sitting for God knows how long, and covered it with a blue tarp, hoping my mom wouldn't notice it moved when she went back to work in the morning. That Saturday morning at 8 a.m. sharp, I heard the garage open and my mom leave for work. Although I had already been awake waiting anxiously for her to leave, I jumped out of bed and threw on all of my snow gear, ate my daily breakfast of dry and clumpy maple brown sugar oatmeal, and ran to the garage to pull out the snowblower. I thought I should do our driveway first, but realized if I was going to secretly use the snowblower, I'd have to do it very last so my mom wouldn't know I took it out. Stupid logic, I know, but I thought I was being so smart. So I rolled it out to the street and started making my way throughout the neighborhood. I started banging on doors to meet people that were not thrilled to be woken up to a shivering snot-nosed kid on their porch first thing in the morning on a Saturday. So they were pretty quick to blow me off. I think it was the 5th or 6th door that I knocked on my street that someone agreed to let me clear their driveway for $10. Huge money when you're 12. And I was over the moon. I started immediately and fought to lug this heavy-ass snowblower that was as big as me into their driveway and started. It definitely didn't look the best, but hey, it beats shoveling for 2 hours. I did this house without any incident. The nice older couple that lived there paid me, and I was on my way. Throughout the day, I did 6 more houses just like this. At one point, I ran out of gas and had to run home to get the gas jug to fill up the blower again, and kept trudging along through the neighborhood doing this. Later in the afternoon, around 3:15ish, yes, I remember I've worn a watch my whole life and I'm very OCD compulsive about knowing the time and timing things, I passed one of the neighboring houses on the street where a ton of kids were outside. I knew most of the kids there because at least 4 of them were siblings and lived there. We always rode bikes and played in the drainage ditches together, so I, being cocky and with an ego bigger than my little body could handle, wanted to show off the fact that I could run this big, scary machine by myself. I started it to show them how it works and how cool it was that I could spray snow 10 feet away. At the time, they were building a fort, and having extra snow to build it in was a no-brainer. So I said I wanted to snow blow their driveway and blow all the snow into the yard beside it so we could have a huge fort and we could play in the snow after. I started off the sidewalk so I could maneuver the snowblower easier. And as I was doing this, multiple kids from this family were standing by, wanting to get blasted by the huge shower of snow that would come out of the chute. Everyone was laughing, running around, throwing snowballs, and we were all yelling at each other about how fun this was over the loud engine in the snowblower. Everything seemed to be going fine. I started working my way up the driveway with the blower. All the snow was going to the side of the yard where the fort was as according to plan. And all the other kids there were loving getting blasted by the snow and piling snow together to add the fort. At this time, a kid younger than me, let's call him John, was running back and forth across the driveway while I was running the snowblower. If anyone here has used one before, you'll know it rolls automatically when the throttle handle is engaged. As he was doing this, I was preoccupied with trying to keep the blower in a straight line, watching the snow spray all over the lawn, and trying to hold on tight to the machine. Honestly, what happened next was so shocking and so anxiety-inducing in the moment, and even now, that it gets a little blurry. Somehow, some way, as John was running back and forth across the driveway, he fell in the snow right in front of the machine. I only noticed it when I saw his hands and head on the ground. When I saw this, I let go of the throttle as well as the blade control, and all I could hear was him screaming and the motor running on the machine. I've never had such a gut-sinking feeling in my entire life, even to this day, and I've seen some awful shit. Everyone stopped what they were doing and ran over to John, who is now laying on the ground with his leg wrapped up inside the snow blower blade. I was screaming to the point where I started hyperventilating. I shut off the motor by hitting the kill switch on the side of it and started panicking. I tried to pull his leg out and turn the blades, but anyone who's ever used one knows they lock in place when the motor isn't on. At this point, everyone is in hysterics, and one of John's siblings ran inside to get their mom. She comes running out, screaming and justifiably horrified to see her youngest kid's leg wrapped up in a snow blower blade. We all sat practically shitting our pants for the next 10 minutes watching John's mom try and wiggle and maneuver his leg out of the snow blower blade. He's screaming and crying and saying how much it hurts, and all I can think about is how my mom is going to actually kill me. I'm screaming I'm sorry over and over again. The other kids are yelling at me. John's mom is screaming at me, and the whole ordeal has me stuck in fight or flight mode. After about 15 minutes of wrestling John's leg out of the machine, his mom finally gets him free, and we can all visibly see his snow boot on his right foot has been cut open and looks very wet. After his mom handles it and grabs it with John screaming out in pain, we can see the blood on our hands, and at this point, everyone is crying and I'm dry heaving, unable to puke up my oatmeal from breakfast. From here, I watch as John Moms picks him up, practically throws him into their car, and drives much faster than what would be safe on snowy roads down the street and out of the neighborhood, presumably to the emergency room. Right about now, I'm having a full-blown panic attack. All of John's siblings and the other neighborhood kids that were at their house are yelling at me, calling me horrible names, and are just trying to grab me. I grabbed the snowblower and I pushed it as hard and fast as I could back to the house. I even went the long way, hoping they wouldn't follow and know where I lived. Spoiler, I've known these kids for years, so they know which house is mine. Once I got home, I shoved the snowblower back into the garage, covered it with the same blue tarp from earlier, ran to the bathroom and vomited it all over myself and all over the floor. I spent the next few hours shaking and dry heaving and thinking about how I'm going to hide this from my mom. After at least an hour and a half worth of having a panic attack, I realized that I now need to do something to at least be in my mom's good graces right now. I started cleaning the house and started making dinner, hoping that she would come home, drink a whole bottle of wine, and pass out drunk. And this whole thing would blow over without her finding out. I spent the next few hours cleaning, peeking out the windows, hoping John's mom wasn't coming looking for me, and trying to get my story straight about what I did today. Eventually, my mom came home. I want to say it was around 7 p.m. at this point. I greeted her at the door, tried to be all nice and sweet like how kids act when they did something wrong, or if the principal is going to be calling home. And I swear, not even 20 minutes after she walked in, John's mom was at the front door. Hearing that door being pounded on and the doorbell being rung had me ready to puke once again. I tried to brush it off, telling my mom it's nobody, or like it was Mormons or something, or someone trying to see something. But she opened the door anyways. Right there on our doorstep was John's mom, face red, eyes puffy from crying, and doing that stuttered breathing people do after they bawl. She absolutely tore into my mom. I'm sure the neighbors found out from her screaming well before it became the hot neighborhood gossip for the month. I remember my mom just standing there dumbfounded. I mean, who could blame her? I was sneaky, did something that seemed out of the realm of possibility for a little 12-year-old kid to be doing and blatantly tried to cover it up. I remember my mom grabbing me by my hair and started wailing on me in front of John's mom. At this point, both my mom and John's mom are screaming at me, and I'm screaming from being hit so hard, it was all kind of blurry. My mom pushed me to the ground and went outside with John's mom, and I could hear the yelling through the door. I sat there on the floor and cried harder than I ever have. It turns out that when John's leg got caught in the snow, it broke his foot and damaged 2 of his toes so badly they had to be amputated. The fact that he was wearing bulky snow boots, multiple layers under thick snow pants, and the fact that kids are pretty bendy is the only reason he didn't lose his whole foot. Or worse, his whole leg. At least, that's what the doctors had told John's mom and family. I got the absolute beating of a lifetime that night, and one to match 2 days after from my dad for it. Still have the scars on my back and neck from it. And to this day, I've never seen my mom so animalistic from anger. John wasn't in school for a while, is what I heard. He was multiple grades behind me, and when I finally saw him again, he was in a huge cast from his knees to his toe, and was in a wheelchair, probably because he was too young to figure out crutches. And I avoided him like the plague. I spent the next year that we lived in the house taking every route possible to avoid walking, riding my bike or skateboard, or doing anything even remotely close to John's house. Anytime I'd see his siblings, they'd throw things at me, hurl insults, or chase me down. I practically lived in fear for an entire year of that family before we moved because our housing situation was also caught in the crossfire of my parents' divorce. Every time I'd see John outside his house, he hobbled along or walked with a very noticeable limp. I never got to apologize in a way that matters. I mean, hell, what 12-year-old kid could? And it ate me alive every single day, to the point where I was scared to go near his house, have any of his family members see him at the store, at school, or in the Greenbelt, and I had nightmares about it for years afterwards. Eventually, the snowblower was gotten rid of, along with tons of my dad's stuff, but every day I'd see it in the garage and just have this absolute gut-wrenching feeling. To this day, I still feel horribly guilty. I looked John up on Facebook a while back. He's got a kid now, and in a video with him and his fiance playing with their daughter, you can still see he walks with a slight limp. I doubt he'll ever see this or find this, but I just want him to know I'm genuinely sorry for the effect my stupidity and idiotic actions have had on his life. I was stupid to think I had the capacity, let alone the capabilities, to take on something like that. And even now, I think about him whenever I'm using any kind of tools or machinery in and outside of my job. Thanks for taking the time to read this. I know it was long and drawn out. Please be safe around tools, machines, or equipment. It only takes a split second to permanently alter or end someone's life, or even your own. And all right, guys, with that final confession, that wraps up some disturbing confession threads. This video is pretty wild. These were some wild confessions. What were your thoughts? Drop your thoughts down below. I read every single comment, so comment down below your thoughts, and maybe I'll reply. And please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the video, and if you enjoyed this video, check out some other videos on the channel. I appreciate it so much. Please follow me on Instagram and follow me on Spotify. It helps out so much. And comment down below if you'd like to see videos like this in the future, and also comment down below if you'd like to see videos longer than this, shorter than this, or this length is perfect. Just let me know, and I appreciate you watching to the end of the video. It means the world. Thank you so much for watching, and this was Snook, and I'll see you next time. Bye.